showing up today. We were competing with the opening day of Little League baseball, so it was difficult for a lot of our parents that have baseball or other spring sports. So I really appreciate everybody coming out today. I'm Joanne Skokie. I am the State Director of the ARC of Rhode Island, and myself with a very dedicated crew and team have been working on this legislation for 3 years. And Lauren Carson, who you'll hear from in a few minutes, is really the backbone. I mean, she has been wonderful. And we have adapted the bill and tried to make it easier to explain. But we all know we need an ombudsman for special education in Rhode Island. We all know that the system is broken. We all know that parents just get told, he'll catch up, he'll catch up. We all know that kids are going into high school without basic reading skills. That is not okay. And we're not going to tolerate it anymore. This has to pass. And what do we need to make it pass? We have tons of senators who support us. We have tons of House of Representatives who support us. Guess who doesn't support us? The Superintendents Association, the Special Education Directors Association, and another community organization that thinks that this is too big of a project to handle. The scope is too large, and that is not okay. So I need each and every one of you to get 10 people that you know and show up at the State House and testify. Testify whether you're an adult who went through school in Rhode Island or anywhere, because it is a national problem, to come and testify and say, we will not allow our children to be uneducated any longer. We lose children. There are children sitting in those schools, ADHD, unseen disabilities like dyslexia, autism, my son with autism, dyslexia. It's not okay that we just throw these kids away and they don't matter to each other. They don't matter to anybody. Because what happens is they sit in their parents' basement for the rest of their lives, and then they go on the adult services, if they even access those services. They have no life. They are capable of anything. Anything. My son, I was told he was emotionally disturbed. He's not emotionally disturbed. And the school stuck to that. He had autism and dyslexia. He couldn't function in a large school. And he didn't want to go to school. He's about to graduate next week with an engineering degree in solar or something, I don't know. But in order to do that, I had to hire attorneys. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to send him to a private-based language learning school that is very familiar with kids with ADHD and autism and dyslexia. And he taught him how to read. But I sold every piece of property I owned. I sold a sailboat. My sailboat, I still love my sailboat. And, you know, that's not fair. Our children are supposed to get a free and appropriate public education. We should not be just throwing these kids into residential treatment centers or throwing them into hospitals and let them stay in the hallways in a bed because we don't have enough placements in Rhode Island. This is a huge problem. If we have a special education ombudsman bill, an office, parents have someone to go to that is independent and neutral. And they can investigate. So then, guys, then and only then will we really understand what's going on in education. We need to fix it. We can't wait any longer. And so I'm very pleased to introduce Walt Steinbergen, and I say it in the Dutch way. Walt, come on up, because Walt and I met thanks to Lauren 3 years ago. And we've been working together ever since. And just want to shout out we'll shout out our team after. You shout out the team. And then Lauren will say.
Awesome. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming out on a Saturday morning. That's so lovely. And you know, sports are starting to happen, trees are blooming, and so it's really extra special that you guys feel strongly enough to come out and give up a really nice Saturday morning to hear us out and to help. Can I have Sam and Charlie come on up? This is my family, and they're up here. We're missing one. My other son, Mitchell, who's neurotypical, is actually doing basketball this morning and those kinds of things. I want you guys to know the reason why we started this bill and why we really want to push it. So, Charlie here is now 19 years of age. Thankfully takes after his mom, an incredibly handsome guy.
Yes.
And this is my lovely wife, Sam, next to me over here, who went through the battle with me and with Charlie and with Charlie's little brother and almost tore our family apart. It is amazing that we're still married. It's amazing that we're all, frankly, still alive. Charlie has autism. He also has neurofibromatosis. It gives him a lot of disadvantages, both physically and intellectually. Now, he's a smart kid, right? Say something smart. Okay, here we go. Super smart, but his learning disabilities keep him from accessing the learning that was taught to him in schools. So, Charlie, he had great schools when he was younger. He's had an IEP ever since he was 2 years old through early intervention. And when he got to high school, it's where the first time the school really struggled trying to give him the accommodations on his IEP. He had 20 accommodations on his IEP. My wife and I met with the school at least 5 times in person, trying to get them to do one accommodation out of the 20 over the course of months. By the way, that one accommodation was never ever done during Charlie's first year. Charlie, as most kids, being a smart kid, realizes he's different. He's failing everything. He has no friends. He's really just completely isolated. The suicide attempts started. We have been to every single emergency room in Rhode Island. We could do Yelp reviews on who has the best cafeteria. And it culminated with Charlie on the day before Christmas vacation in 2018, tried to swallow a metal carabiner in math class because he was feeling so overwhelmed, and he choked on it and almost died. So we pulled him out of the school, and we said, we can't do this. The school said, don't worry, we can keep him safe, we can do this. And we said, he almost died in math class. You have no record of saying that you can keep him safe. So we took out a second mortgage, we raided our retirement savings, and we hired an educational consultant who looked at all of his evaluations that all said he really is not going to function well in a regular school. And she said, I have the school for him. I have the perfect place to send him. However, it's in Utah. And what you're really going to hate is it's $12,625 a month. So we went into debt. We raided everything. We had no idea how we were going to pay for a full year of school. But what we did know was my child would die if he was going to stay in the district that told him that they could keep him safe. By the way, Charlie's school, again, we're very lucky. We figured it out. We did all kinds of things to get him through. So, Charlie, what happened in June of last year?
Graduated high school.
GPA?
3.4.
Child, high school graduation, part-time job, working his way to independence, or dead child? How would the Ombudsman help? Well, we went through the channels. We tried to work with the school, obviously. We were offering, we're like, can we buy you things? Can we donate? Can we hire help for you people to help my son? Nope, we got it. We tried that. Then it started to become a little against. We started going, look, we talked to Ripen, great organization, and they're like, well, this is federal law. An IEP has to be followed. And we're like, geez, we didn't even really realize that. So then we started to realize they had to follow They have to, right? It's not a choice of, well, we'll do this part and then maybe we'll get to that part. It's not an a la carte menu. It's an all-on service. And so after that point, we're like, okay, school, so what are you going to do? And they're like, no, the question is, what are you going to do? Because this is how it's going to be. And we said, okay, I guess we'll have to hire an attorney. So $10,000 for an attorney retainer who came in and said, wow, yeah, your school's really messed up. We should try to work on this. And so the school said, yeah, well, fine, do due process. And you know why they said that? Due process costs between $50,000 and $75,000. They're rolling the dice. They're going, yeah, all right, sure, you got it. How deep is your checkbook? Because you know what? And the way RIDE works, your outcome all depends on who your hearing officer is. So we had Charlie and the school out there. We told them, you know, Charlie's not coming back here. He's on a unilateral replacement. Our school district then sent us a letter telling us that Charlie was going to be truant and was going to have to go to court. Even though he literally, 2 months before, almost died in their classroom. So how's that for a nice slap in the face when your heart is broken, your checkbook's broken, your whole family is falling apart at the seams. And now you're going to have to go and go in front of the judge, who, by the way, could say, well, Charlie's going to have to come back from Utah right now because this is the law. So, the Ombudsman sits in between. It's independent from RIDE. It's independent from the districts. It is just like the Office of the Child Advocate for DCYF. They can investigate. They can look at things. And so where this is, and let's consider this an accessibility ramp for kids with intellectual disabilities. Right? If your child is in a wheelchair, there is no question that school has to build a wheelchair ramp so that child can access their education. This is that ramp. After you've been to Ripen and after they've said, here's what the law is, and the school says, great, play chicken, we're going to win anyway. Instead of having to hire that lawyer, this is that accessibility ramp where the parents can roll out and get over to that gulf, where they can go to the school district, look at the case, and say, no, you guys are in violation of federal law. Or, if they're not, they can tell the parent, listen, the school is well within their rights here. This is how it is, but it doesn't cost $50,000 to find that out. It's not a game of chicken anymore. And furthermore, with RIDE, and you know, RIDE is underfunded like every educational system is, but it's always what we hear from people who oppose the bill is that, well, you know, RIDE has processes in place, RIDE does these things, and I can tell you that we filed a complaint with RIDE in December of 2019 after the school threw Charlie out. He was on unilateral placement. We're still working through the legal case. And they said, no, you're done. And we said, well, that's illegal. You can't do that. You're his LEA. You can't say I'm not his school anymore. This is federal law, by the way. You can all look it up. But they did. So we filed a complaint December, again, 2019. When did we get our hearing and our result of that complaint? December of 2020, a year later. In the meantime, Charlie had no school to speak of. He was thrown out of school. He's 17 years old. He's entitled to a free public education. And the school district and RIDE said, yeah, no, he's not. No, he's not. I'm like, wow, so RIDE's breaking federal law as well. And yet there's federal money coming in from the government to make sure that all of these services are actually getting done. Sounds a little bit like fraud to me, quite honestly. And if I sound like I am pissed, I've been fighting for 5 years. I've almost lost my family. I've almost lost my child. I've almost lost my wife. So yeah, I am really angry about this. And yeah, I think we need to change it. So thank you for your support. Please feel free to chat with any of us. Talk to Joanna from the ARC. And I do want to call out the coalition of parents that have been working with us tirelessly for this since the get-go. You just heard from Joanna, president of the ARC. Back behind is Ken. Rado, who's Associate Director at the ARC down here. Fantastic, fantastic, loving, warm guy. Big deal in the disability world. Lovely. We have Renee Smith back there, another parent. These are all parents, by the way, who have been down the same road. As you're being told, like, well, nobody else has a problem with special education. I'm not sure why you do. Lee Gaspar. Hundreds of hours, talking to senators, looking up things, and by the way, with a kid who has an IEP, still in the midst of the fight, just making that happen day to day. Who else do we have here? Dee Dee? Yep, from the back there. Another parent who is fighting to get this done. Carrie Casino over here. Carrie is an absolutely unstoppable force. Carrie has been, she had a heartbreaking story in the Boston Globe a few months ago about her daughter Eva. It still kind of makes me cry a little bit when I think about what this poor lady has been through with her daughter, who's been warehoused at Bradley while they're waiting for her to get support services. Downside of this job, I cry a lot. That's how bad it is. Oh, Jeremiah. Didn't call you out. What else did I miss? Did I miss anybody else, Jeremiah?
Jessica.
Oh, Jessica, please.
Everybody helps. So we appreciate it. So here's our hero, right? You want to introduce Lauren?
Absolutely.
She's the hero. She is truly the hero. She is stuck with us.
Absolutely. So here's how we got here. So I was attending a support group for parents of kids with autism in Boston, actually. And we were trying to, figure out what are we going to do with this kid? How can we get through every day? And the leader of that group said, I have a woman down in Rhode Island whose stepson has had some challenges. Is it okay if I see if I can put you guys together? And I don't know, a couple months later, I think Lauren and I were sitting in a cafe down in Newport talking about this stuff, and she said, yeah, we got to do something about this. Shortly thereafter, through another rep, Tony, good friends, who knows Joanna, all of a sudden we've got the basis of this group going, and it's growing all the time. And I cannot say enough wonderful things about Lauren and the way that she just is there. She listens, she's worked tirelessly, she fights back. She's a tremendous human being, and I'm very, very, very proud that she's on our team. Lauren.
Up this idea for an independent ombudsman, which is exactly what it is, independent. And I quote him all the time. I quoted his quote this morning in that, for those of us that are in the room here, we're aware, we're active, we're advocating. But what about the single parent in South Providence that has several children that maybe speak Spanish as a primary language and doesn't have the $10,000 to $20,000 to hire an attorney? What happens to her child? And I think that, and what happens to the children who are in DCYF and have IEPs? I mean, these are children that have even greater challenges in the system than some of our children in this room. I want to, before I go on, recognize Senator Anderson. This is her district. It was very kind of her to come to me. One of the reasons that I related to this so quickly. My mother, who's 85 years old, is a speech pathologist, a learning consultant, principal and superintendent of schools in New Jersey, and she's owned 3 schools for people with learning disabilities for the past 40 years, as well as 2 over 21 programs. So this is a little bit the family business. I have no degrees in any of this stuff, but there's certainly been many conversations around the dinner table about specific cases, specific children, specific parents that she's worked with, hundreds, probably thousands of students over the years. So I related very quickly to what was going on here. And I was talking to her about it. She said something to me that I don't forget. She said, as long as the child is getting passing grades, they move them along to the school. That's what they do. And she's right, you know, in some of the cases that happens. So anyway, that's why I'm in this, because it makes sense to me. I also believe in transparent government. I believe in accountable government. And I think that having an independent ombudsman to look after special needs children and their families is really a smart way to go. We have a very successful child advocacy program in the state of Rhode Island. Some of you may or may not be aware of that. Independent of DCYF, they investigate, they look into issues. It's been a very helpful resource for the legislature. I want to stress 2 things before I close. The legislature, of which I've been a member for 8 years, needs information about what's going on in your families. We don't see this information. And so one of the roles of the ombudsman is going to be to report to the legislature annually about what's going on in school districts so that we can see the cases, so that we can see the complaints, so that we can see what's going on. And then at that point, we may be able to take further steps to improve special education across the state. But first, as a legislature, we need better information, because most of my colleagues are not here today. There's only 2 of us. The second thing, so that's a really important aspect of the bill. The second aspect of the bill, I think Walt's already highlighted, and that is that it would be an independent agency, an independent office. That would be it would be really helpful for parents, because going down the path of articulating and advocating at the district level, going to state level, hiring attorneys, that's just not a winning formula for getting kids what they need while they're in school. So I want to leave you with 2 things that the bill will do. It will really be an independent resource for parents as well as for the legislature, so that we can see exactly what's going on and make some changes. So what can you do? Well, the bill has been heard in the Senate. I think we've been watching it back here. There was a very successful Senate hearing about 4 weeks ago. Many people in this room testified. It has not been heard in the House yet. It's in the House Finance Committee. Sometimes it's really difficult for people to get to come and testify on bills. It's a little overwhelming. It's usually in the evening. It's not real convenient. But you can send written testimony. That's very easy to do. Just get yourself a piece of paper, tell the committee why you care about the bill, and get it to Joanna, and she will deliver that to the committee. At least your voice will be heard. And I really encourage you to do that, because we need all of your voices at the table as the legislature debates this. I think that the bill has some traction on the Senate side. I know that the hearing was very successful. I know that our opponents want to talk to us because they smell blood in the water a little bit. And so we're doing that to see if we could move the bill along this session. We haven't had a hearing in the House yet, so I don't know how it's going to turn out in the House. The session is only going to last about another 6 weeks. So we're kind of in crunch time right now. So that's what this is about, to really engage you, to inform you, and to encourage you to participate in the system. So I want to say thank you to everyone who's here today. It is a beautiful day to come out and learn about how to do these things. And I encourage you to participate. And if we don't get this bill over the finish line this year, we will be back again next year. I promise you that. So thank you to everyone. Have a great Saturday. Is there any, you want to close? You make closing remarks? Okay, Joanna.
Yeah, I'm going to come up. I'm going to come up. So I just wanted to tell everybody that we had somebody from our office do a fancy-dancy QR code, which I couldn't do to save my life, but she did. And what this does, if you take this with your phone, the QR code, it sends you directly to an app called Call to Action, and you put in your phone number, and it automatically brings up your senators and your legislators. You don't have to do any of the work. All you have to do is write your experience or why you support this bill, and that's it, and you press send. It's a, if I'm gonna be honest, I think it's a 2-click process. It's so easy, guys. So we need everyone, and I mean everyone, not just you, the mom, not just the dad. We need your mother, your father, your sisters, your brothers, the aunts and the uncles who see you struggle. And we need their letters going to the House Finance, because this office is going to cost money. So we need to make sure, like Lauren has said all the time, the Office of the Child Advocate gives them critical information on how they can change everything: education, housing, everything, the environment. She's an unbelievable environment advocate as well. So she is, you know, she's us, right? She's a mom. I was very fortunate to talk to Janine. Sorry, Kendra, I'm sorry. Kendra, Senator Anderson, Senator Anderson. And actually, Kalis is here. She is running for governor. And I just see Dr. Omar Bog, who I met years ago in Washington, come because we really do need to reach these underserved populations. He runs the Refugee Dream Center in Providence. And so it's really important that we, like Lauren said, people who don't normally have access or don't even know about the availability of even free advocacy, that we get them the help that they need. But then we have this independent ombudsman really watching and reporting to the legislature so that we can change education. If we change special education process, we make sure our children get the supports and services they need, we will change education. So we must do that. So here's the QR code. I am totally out of time, and I did want the senator to come up and speak for a second, but I think, just 2 seconds. 2 seconds, sorry. You know, we're running, I'm getting motioned over here. So she supports the bill, I guess.
I do support the bill. Senator Kendra Anderson, this is District 31, our district. I say our because it's not mine, it's all of you. I do have prepared, a few things prepared, and in this crowd, I think they would all understand if I don't read it.
Yes.
But I did want to say that some of my experience in the past, I worked for Head Start for several years. My son was also troubled in school. I remember sitting at my desk when he was 6 years old, 25 years ago, getting a call from a frantic teacher saying, "What are you going to do about him?" And I said, "What are you going to do about him? Can we please work on this together?" And I got very little help. Very little help. It wasn't until his teens, his late teens, that we found out what was going on with him. So I do sympathize. I never had anyone advocating very hard for my son besides myself. So we need this special education ombud more than ever. So I did write something at the end that I do want to say. I commend and am grateful for the work of Rhode Island Advocacy for Children, their circles of connections, and community of practice. And I ask all of you, are you a bystander or a change maker? Please be a change maker and come out and support this bill. Lauren Carson, I should not have neglected to say, Rep. Carson, she said it all. Come out and support this. I know I will. Thank you.
We're not going to have time for other comments, but I want you to network with each other. We have people here who are running for office, are in office, who support our bill. So please tell your story to these people. Dr. Omar Bach, can you just raise your hand? And Kalis? Kalis. I'm sorry. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed, guys. know I'm bombarding everybody. I promise it'll end when the session ends and we pass this bill.